Welcome to Forever Exiled. I'm Justin, aka Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Not even doing a countdown this time, Ty.
Why? What's wrong with you?
We don't have 4 seconds.
That's right. We have a private league to deal with.
We got stuff to do. 228 Forever Exileds. Here we are. Big shout out to our patrons, Dingus, nice Dingus, and Nav for joining up. Thank you so much for joining our Patreon this week. Like a 12-year-old.
Beavis and Butthead.
Thanks so much for joining our Patreon. Everybody else who resubbed up this past week, we love your faces. Patreon gets you access to After Dark. It's our podcast, After the Podcast, where we just talk more stuff and things. And it'll be a lot of private league chatter tonight, probably.
Tonight it will be
After Dark, because our private league, if you want to play it, you can still hop in. It'll be on our Discord. Just pop in there and check in announcements. But it starts in an hour.
No, Justin, not in an hour. It's 9:05
like,
and it starts at 10:01. It starts in 56 minutes.
We're gonna be whipping through this episode. But yeah, thank you so much for everybody who's joined up the Patreon, support the podcast. We love your faces. It helps us do these private leagues. So
it does.
Thank you so much. How was your week, Ty?
You pay for it.
You sound like the epitome of health, I gotta say.
It's never been better. Like you keep trying to find all these different concoctions that'll help you live forever. I don't know why you just don't ask me.
Ty, we're getting started, and he's like, "Give me a sec." Takes a massive swig of water, and he's like, "Not yet." Grabs I don't know, is that coffee or something warm maybe to help the throat?
No,
takes that.
You know what? I should go upstairs and grab something nice. Yeah.
You don't drink? Do you drink like any sort of like, I don't know, teas or anything? Like
a tea? You've laughed at me for saying this, but this was probably when you weren't listening to me. But tea actually really dries my throat out in my mouth.
Any tea? I don't really know much about teas.
So. The teas that my wife likes to get. I've never really found a tea that I'm like, that's
this is the
good.
One. Right.
But it's also because I'm used to such strong things. Like with coffee, I like it black. I like it dark roast. I would really like my French press really nice and thick, you know what I mean? Like my alcohol, right. I like it straight. Basically, I like getting punched in the face a lot.
So you need a tea that's been sitting for like a day.
Which is why my nose is in the state that it's in. But tea doesn't punch hard enough. Teas, if you like getting touched all gentle like, and that's not me, I'm
not a tea person, but I'm also not a coffee person either. But I don't know. I thought maybe there was stuff that you could do when you got a cold or something. That's too bad.
I was going to say, if you like this beginning part of our episodes, you will love After Dark. And if you love Path of Exile talk, you'll also love After Dark, because that's where we probably talk.
You just never know what you're going to get.
we talk more Path of Exile there, but it's about as ad-lib as you get. There's never been a note.
Never.
For After Dark.
We just hop on and see what happens, kind of like this, except this has somewhat. Ty does prep for these, so.
Tiny bit.
Yeah.
Tiny bit.
So how's your week in general, though?
I had a good week, man. Construction's almost done outside. Throwing my lawn talk here, too. They're starting to put the sod out for our...
oh, cool.
Yeah. So, because like they ripped up a bunch of the yard so that they can get access to the water main.
Feet of the yard?
For us, I mean, because our water main's like halfway... It's on the edge of the yard, but it's halfway into the yard. So they probably dug a nice like 8-foot strip that's about 3 feet wide. And so they filled it in, and like I was hoping, they put about a foot of topsoil up top on top of the rock, which is phenomenally thoughtful. They didn't have to be, and they were, so that's great. And then they started laying sod, but it must have like their watch must have dinged for the end of the day, because they put one strip of sod and everything else is blank. So
we're done.
I forget. No, today's not the provincial holiday. It's Monday, so maybe they'll be working on it today during the episode to make sure we hear them.
And you know what a provincial holiday on Monday means? Kids don't have to go to school on Friday either.
That's right. So they're home today. My kids are watching some, I don't know what other parents' kids let them watch. But my kids upstairs, they really like JJ and Mikey on YouTube. It's Minecraft stuff.
Okay, cool.
And so they're upstairs doing that. And then I'll be doing the private league later today. So my kids will get an extend video game allowance today. They are. It's going to be
like the private league more than we do.
Oh, man. And it's going to be hell tonight. They're just going to be like the grumpiest, snottiest, short-tempered kids in the world, because I'm letting them watch TV for breakfast. Then they're going to get ready for the day and all that. And then when I start playing video games is when they're allowed to play video games. So I'm going to see. Today's my parent test. I'm going to see what it's like for them to just play video games as long as I do today. I'm going to remove all the restrictions. No. If I give them an hour and a half a day, like as soon as it hits an hour 31, nope, the beast comes out. The moon goes full, the werewolves come out. It's nasty.
And them or you?
Probably both, but I never admit to being grumpy. And then, but no, like for me, like you can tell my voice is getting there, but every now and then, like by the end of this episode, I probably shouldn't do it because maybe I'll start coughing. But by the end of this episode, I'll kind of be talking like this a bit. Like it still gets worn out really easy, but I'm feeling the feel of what my throat used to feel like.
Well, it's good that the throat's getting better. On Monday when we were racing, I was like, oh God, Friday's going to be awful.
Well,
like, you just sounded like you were dying.
Yeah, it was the end of a day though. End of the day. Yeah. But yeah. See, here we go. I got a cough. So anyway, no, I had a good week. My health is getting better. My family's great. And my wife hasn't left me yet. So things are good, man. Things are good.
It's a plus all around.
Living the dream.
Nice.
How about you?
My week was good.
That's nice. So you want to talk about...
Yeah, well, you got to get into PoE pretty quick, so I'm gonna I'll rip through my week.
No, I was joking. It was
a good week, really busy, lots of work, and every time you hear me say it's just because I'm making a note
about my coughing.
It was good. It was busy, really busy. But what did we do? We didn't really do. Well, so we're not big Valentine's Day, but happy Valentine's Day to people who do Valentine's Day.
Oh, right,
like,
yeah.
That was this week. We're not. Christine and I have never been big, like, okay, forced to say I love you and care about you day. Like it's always just seemed a little silly, but I do like to get my... It's
guaranteed action day. That's it.
I do like to get my my girls flowers on Valentine's Day. So I picked them up some flowers, and then what did we do? Yeah, that was kind of it. We just hung out. We did a movie night last night just because the school was doing one, and I am not going to the school to watch a freaking movie in a gym or whatever with a bunch of kids and parents.
The parents are invited?
Yeah. And that's, yeah, they are. They are. Yeah. It's like a family movie thing. And I'm like, no, thank you.
I knew that they it's just too expensive for us. So I always say,
does it cost? It doesn't cost. It's free.
Yeah. No, it costs.
They charge you to go to them?
Yeah.
No, I'm sure
like
it's free.
$12.
What?
If it was free, I'm the worst parent in the world because I could swear that they charged money for it.
I'm pretty sure it's free, but I wouldn't even care if they paid me to go to it. I'm not going to go to a gym.
My daughter's leaving this school this year. She's in grade 5. She's going to a different school for grade 6. And this whole time I've been telling her, no, we don't have the money. But if they've been free and she didn't get one movie night with her school.
None of my kids have ever had one. So we do one here instead. When they do them at the school, we do them here. So we had pizza and watched a movie last night. And
what do you watch?
Yeah, Wish. It's a new one on Disney. It was fun. It was good. But yeah, and then we're watching Billions. Christine and I are working through Billions. So we finished the second season of that. And then I got talked into buying a game by Josh, which is not always the greatest way to,
Way to go, Josh.
Yeah. So it's called Helldivers 2. So I assume, given the name, that there was a Helldivers 1. I never played it, but I haven't figured out if it was a good or bad decision yet, which is not normally. I'm like into a game. I'm like, okay, cool, this is good. It's a shooter game. I like those. It's spacey. I like that. You kind of upgrade your guy. I like that. But I don't like games that are so focused on having to play with other people. Like playing it solo is very difficult. Very, very difficult. Like it's made to be played in a group of 2 to 4 people. And that's not usually my style of game. I don't like having to play with other people. So
it really doesn't. It's a very short-sighted perspective. Like unless you're going to instantly be right. So unless you're going to instantly be as popular as something like Fortnite that just took off and was forever the most popular game in the world, like it's such a short-sighted design for a game because it's just not going to last. Like your game's going to die earlier than a single player game would.
Yeah, I do agree with you for most games. This game is very, very popular and very big right now, and it's got huge numbers playing it.
Good.
And it's got a fun idea where everyone that plays around the world is all sort of putting towards the progression of the game and how things change and stuff. I have a hard time when I can't just like pop on and play it by myself for a little bit. And you can play it solo. It's just very difficult to play it solo. So yeah, I played that a little bit with him, and some of his buddies from work had it too. So I did play a little bit with them, but other than that, okay. It was work, man. It was a lot of meetings. We've got some fun stuff coming up. It's actually kind of funny. They're wanting to. I've got a guy in my office that's No, I'll tell you about that stuff later. But it's just funny when people talk about podcast related stuff, because I don't talk about podcast stuff at work.
And no one's allowed to know.
No, I don't. This is my thing. I don't want to talk about it at work. I don't need to. So when I'm talking to people at work and they're like talking about, oh, I want to start a podcast, I want to do this and I got to do that, and I find it a little bit amusing where people talk about the struggles or what you need to do to make it, a successful podcast, and I'm like, yeah, you should try that. Like, yeah,
that's right. Well, it's funny because it's not supposed to really work out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's not supposed to, but that's kind of the thing. Like, you try, you put the money forward, you go for it, and then there's just tons of competition. And how do you advertise? Like, how do you get out there? I've always found it weird. So we were just very fortunate. Like, we're not
super fortunate.
It was all just luck of the draw, and
we didn't do it to be successful. We just did it to have fun, and we had a topic, which I think is where most people struggle. Like, to just make a podcast to just talk randomly with 2 or 3 people. But you have I don't know how people now would make that very successful. It'd be very difficult because there's just a lot out there. And if you don't have a target audience, it's really tough. So anyway, it was a good week overall. I had a good week, but I'm excited to play I'm not really excited to play the private league, but I am excited.
Yeah, we screwed up. After Dark listeners would know this. By the way, Justin, I sharpened my lawnmower blade this week. That was exciting.
Ooh, nice.
After Dark listeners will know this, but because we decided this in After Dark. You remember a few leagues ago, for those that listened to us for a while, Justin and I did, just between him and I, a scion only agreement where we would both have to be the scion, play it however we wanted, but we had to get to a certain level. Otherwise, every single private league, we had to be the scion until we achieved that agreed upon level. That agreed upon level was the same for both of us. Obviously, he did it right away, and it took me about 20,000 years. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we did something similar to that this time, but we both have to be the gladiator, and neither of us are excited to be the gladiator.
We picked it because it was the least played in solo self-found hardcore Affliction. When we looked at PoE Ninja.
Also on Justin's account.
We've never played it.
So
so it's going to be so much fun.
Yes, it is. It's going to be great. So it's going to be a good week. This week in PoE, talent competition runners up. Congratulations, everybody. There was the Gauntlet highlights, Twitch highlights.
All right, that finished up. Hold on one sec. I got to say too, happy birthday, Tyler, this week, because it'll happen before our next recording. Yeah, it's Tyler's birthday week. Woo!
Just thanks.
Happy birthday, Ty.
I totally forgot about that.
See, I remember.
I do things. Awesome. That's awesome. Hey, let me see. Oh, you're right.
Yeah, a couple days.
Because I have to look at the calendar, and then I have to be like, okay, hang on a second. How old am I? I was born in 82. I never know how
old I am. Yeah.
Right. So
40-ish.
40-ish.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, continue.
No, we're good. Xbox and PC. Xbox patch or console patch, I should say. Sorry, I only have the one console. Was only one day after the PC patch. They're both up to date. They're both on 1C. And the big thing for this one was the muted bit. They added the new muted restrictions to the game. Saw some people posting about it because it was this, that, or another thing. And so it looks like there were some glitches. And GG's actually been good at reversing some mutes as well if it was outrageous. So
I did see a post on Reddit about it where a person was just explaining part of the game to somebody and somehow got muted for breaking terms or something, and that didn't make any sense. And their initial response was, sorry, this is the deal. You're muted for whatever 90 days, and then eventually reversed it. But hopefully it doesn't require people to be posting on Reddit in order to get things reversed. Like I get the concept of like keeping the game safe and making sure that there's a code of conduct to the messaging in the game. 100% totally on board with that. But also, you let people have the most offensive names of any video game I've ever played.
Right. There's an crazy amount of inconsistency. What are people supposed to think is appropriate or inappropriate?
Yeah.
Like, I can have the most disgusting name in the world and only write edifying messages like, great job, that's awesome. Here, have this for free. And I'm fine. But I could have like, my name is Daisy Pixies.
Like, go fuck yourself. It's like terrified. That's okay.
Yeah, but then my name could be something like Jesus loves you, and then all my messages like F you, banned.
Yeah, so whatever. It is a good thing in general, but yeah, I'm curious to see how they find that line that they're what does it take to cross it. So
there was a bug that hit home for me, old school. So people that just started playing in the last, maybe it's been 2 years now, but since, determination has changed to its most recent form, and the mastery system was introduced. Classes have been able to find defenses. Like there was a huge outcry for defense from the community for a while, a very legitimate cry, and defense was very difficult to come by. So I've always been for the most part in the north section of the tree, a witch, mostly a necromancer my entire PoE career. And the Chimera was always one of my most hated boss fights because A, I hate invisible, B, I hate teleporting. And so in the Chimera fight where you have to run between the clouds to spawn the fight again, and there's always like one of those, like it was like the mini boss, like I think in the third wave of the wolves that come out that does this really crazy bleed. It's the unique version of whatever wolf that is. So anyway, that was always like my bane. It was the one, like I could handle all the other guardians. I mean, at that stage, it wasn't no problem, but I was comfortable with them. But the Chimera was always just luck. Like I really got to get to that cloud, whatever cloud they're in, as fast as I can. But the game, like you got to understand the reason I'm saying this, the game was designed very differently. Like the defenses just weren't there. You couldn't just throw on a skill and determination would give you half of what you need. Like the game just wasn't built like that then. So there was a lot more holes in characters, and it was just the most infuriating experience of my life. So anyway, apparently, hang on, let me make this bigger. Fixed a bug where Guardian of the Chimera could only die when they had left the arena, causing their loot to be inaccessible.
I guess if from a bleed or from a dot or something, it would die.
Yep.
Huh.
And I don't know if that's like in the cloud or whatever it is. And
I think it's probably when actually, maybe when he leaves the arena for the last time, maybe it could still damage him down while he was out. I didn't know that was possible.
Poison. So whatever it is, I start, whenever I see the Chimera, I picture somebody that used to be like me. And it was like, I'm like, oh, I did it. Where's the stuff? Like you still need the fragment, right? Like the fragment, I still think about the stress of, man, I hope a fragment drops so that I can go towards the shaper. It's like, I did it. Then because like who cares that you got it? You got to do it again. It's like, oh man. So anyway, that one stood out to me, made me smile and sweat hate at the same time. So anyway, 1C's out for all platforms now. Then there were two things that actually we could ramble on a bit. We could skip. Jonathan did another interview. And then there was a 2024 expansion timeline. Why don't we do the 2024 expansion timeline first?
Sure.
It was a hilarious update for me because there's no update.
Just that late March.
Yeah. So it was like, hey, so this league's going to go on longer than we expected. And the next one's probably going to be late March.
It is kind of weird to say late March when we're mid-February. Like I would assume you have an idea. Also, can we just get them to commit to a 4-month cycle? Like
I know, right? This is going to be this is going to be over 3.5 months. Not exact, because this was, when did this come out? The very beginning of December. I think it was December 8th.
Yeah, something like that. That's right.
So like you're looking at like barely
very
under
close
4
to
months.
4 months.
And yeah, just it's funny how and I've heard Jonathan on 2 different interviews now be like, yeah, like there is a huge difference for us between a 3 and a 4 month cycle, and we are definitely going back to a 3-month cycle.
A big difference in what sense? Like financially?
He didn't emphasize. I assume financially. That would make sense. And I don't see that from his perspective. I don't see him seeing it as an issue once PoE 2 is released, because they have according to them, they have so many more employees than they used to have. And because they've been working on PoE 2 for what, like 2019 was when they announced it? Like we're talking 5 years now, if it's even released in 2024. So, like now all of a sudden your entire team is, sure, granted they're building 2 games, but they're not building a new game from scratch. They're maintaining games. And that's a completely different workload and assignment schedule. So, it'll probably be a lot easier for them to maintain it. Maybe they're doing a skeleton crew for PoE 1 for all I know. I don't know. But anyway, it made me laugh because it was like, we don't have a date. Here's an estimate. So you can estimate that you're going to get some teasers 2 weeks before that. And also there's not going to be any end of league events because
reasons,
I guess we're busy doing other things. So it was the most hilarious update ever. Like the first thing I thought of when I read that was like, It's not even an update. What's the point of the post?
I don't like that they're talking about PoE 2 again during the live stream. I hope it's shorter than last time.
Yeah, separate it. Gotta keep them separated.
Do something different.
Yeah.
But, all right, cool. So sometime in March.
Yeah, that's right. End of March, if we're lucky. Let's see, which really sucks for them because I don't know what the value is because there's a lot of time zones with huge population clusters. For whatever reason, they design our time zone is what they design everything around, the PST time zone. Maybe it's just because it's like at the end of the day. I don't know how it works. Anyway, for whatever the reasons are, no, it's gone. I have no idea why I was bringing that up.
It started off great.
Why would I bring that up? Not an update. End of league, March. Huh. So Jonathan had an interview with Joe, who's primarily Diablo, from what I gathered from the interview. I took the time to watch it. I am up to date. Okay.
Cool.
Oh man, I don't have time for these interviews. It's like watching a Netflix series. It's like 2-hour episodes, and I think we're on episode 6 or 5 now. And I love like learning about it and hearing about it, but man, it's like an extra date night. I watch a couple hours a week of TV with my wife on Wednesdays, and I'm gonna have to start. I gotta have like a Path of Exile night. Like Thursday night's my date night with GGG, and I just sit there and watch Jonathan and whatever guest he has, along with whoever it is. That I don't get it. Like if I totally get that like GGG's marketing, but like have a requirement. Like you have to watch these. Like I'm not answering the same question over and over and over again. You know what I mean? Like, has
he been asked the same question multiple times?
But all the way through all of them, and you'll hear the little disclaimer, like where it's like they've been too busy, but they don't want to admit it. It's like, so I tried to watch as many as I could, and I hope I don't have any duplicate questions. They all start with that, and I'm like, no, you either watch it or you don't. Like, this is Jonathan we're talking about. It's not like somebody like, yeah, do your homework, take the time, right? Now I get with some of these people, GGG's probably paying them to be on. Right, just like for the sake of the exposure, stuff like that. That would make sense. I mean, have you ever heard? It doesn't make sense
now. No, I've never heard.
No,
of
but it doesn't make sense
now.
No, but they're not marketing the way that we would market. You know what I mean? Like, so whatever common sense they're saying, like I'm trying to think about like if we had GGG on right now, and like our number one or maybe our only question would be like, so what's with all the promo lately?
Yeah, I wouldn't have a single question about PoE 2.
Right.
I would, there would be nothing to be curious about. I find this is still way too far away to be doing promo and marketing for PoE 2. I did see some of the comments, but not a lot because I didn't watch any of the interviews. I didn't listen to any of them. I've just heard not hearsay, but like responses or what people have talked about. And it's not, for me, I know it's been different for you. For me, it's not been like, oh, that's good. That makes me feel better. I don't feel anything for PoE 2 right now. I'm just waiting for it to come out. So, there were a few things that made me laugh that I heard about this one. Like they're not touching in-game filters. I think it is hilarious to hear the head people of GGG say that they think filters are in a good spot.
Sorry, I was coughing. That what's in a good spot?
That filters are in a good spot. That they're, that how it works right now is fine. And there was a discussion on our Discord, and I know there's been discussions obviously online. Everybody has different opinions and different thoughts towards what they agree with or disagree with. But while I understand that it would be a lot of work for them to fix filters on their end, I still think that's their responsibility.
Right. You make a game like your company name is basically We Love Item Weight, like grinding for gear.
Yeah.
Like that's unless your mirror is going to look exactly the same as a Scroll of Wisdom, like the filter's part of your company name in a way. Now I'm with you, but I'm also have a different, I don't know, appreciation maybe for it. But like, I totally don't understand the value of the promo at this stage of the game. Like it's one thing to like with a commercial and you're just pumping out your company name over and over and over, right? Like Kleenex or something. I don't know. Like Kleenex is a brand, but most of us where we're from, we call tissues Kleenex. We go to the store, we just pick up Kleenex. We don't even know there's another brand. That's just, just pumping it out over and over and over. And that's, I get that. But there's a different way to market when it comes to hype. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing long-term, just get this game in your head marketing, like PoE2, you're not marketing to new players. You're marketing to us. Or just reminding us the game is coming out. Right. So it's interesting because it's so much of their time for us who are going to play it no matter what. Whereas you could, and who knows, maybe like he's at a stage where it's actually better usage of his time, referring to Jonathan, to do this as opposed to something else. But it's, I don't know. Like I appreciate, I love hearing from a marketing standpoint. I don't get it, but as a fan, I love hearing the mentality behind everything, whether they change their mind or not, because I know their mentality is still the same. And, oh, well, shoot, they gave into this. They didn't want to do this, but they gave into it. I still kind of like knowing that background bit. Like, for example, what they changed about respecking. Did you hear how they changed respecking so far? Could change again. It's all gold now. And at the beginning,
so no regrets.
While you're going through, it costs a ridiculously cheap amount to respec. And the farther you get in the game, it gets stupid expensive.
Still per point, though?
I don't know.
Like you're respecing a single point?
I mean, I assume so. It'd be ridiculous for them. And that's just a flop within 2 weeks. And so Jonathan was saying things in this interview, like, you know, with all these interviews, we go back and we talk about all of them and we discuss, like, why are we held up on this? Is it important that we are? Is it not? So I appreciate the interviews. I don't understand why they're happening, but I appreciate them. I like hearing the background stuff. I really hope the company doesn't have as much sway as it feels like they are. It really feels like we're driving the direction of the game. Now, that's probably just the perception. There's so many decisions they make that they've never even talked to us about, understandably, but it just seems like we have so much power right now in the direction of the game, and that scares me because we don't know better. We know better.
Keep in mind, Tyler's saying we as in the
community.
base.
Yes, sorry, not Justin and I. Well, maybe Justin and I, but
obviously
no. But like we maybe could as a community know some stuff better, or would have some really good suggestions if this was simply the next big update for Path of Exile 1, but it's not. Everything's different and there's so much we don't know. So hopefully they're only listening to us in appropriate areas where maybe they can't make up their mind. I really hope we're not really driving the direction of this game, because it seems like trade's different, respeccing's different. And I'm like, the thing that I like about this game is that it was like unforgiving, like Dark Souls at the beginning. Like you have 100-something points to spend and I got 20 regrets by the end of the campaign. I'm like, that sucks. Like that's not enough if I want to actually get rid of this whole branch and move it over here. Like it was still harsh, it was still punishing, it was still a difficult game, and I really hope that stays. I really do.
I'm curious that they're basing a number of things around gold. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because gold better be screen wide global pickup. Like if I pick up one piece of gold, all the gold sucks into me or something.
You don't even click it
to a corner.
You don't even click it.
I know that.
Oh, okay.
But I'm hoping that that you suck every single piece of gold that drops or something. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I have heard that there's quite a few orbs that are disappearing. So like, you know, like we're not going to have a lot of the orbs. I do like that they're getting rid of the spamming of like alterations and chaos and all that kind of stuff.
Amen
I think that's
that.
great.
Yep.
I think there's some really good stuff that I've heard, but I also quite often when I read this stuff, I'm like this isn't helping me. To be completely honest, nothing's going to change my mind with regards to PoE 2. I am going to play it, and I would rather know less going into it. Because right now, I don't feel like they're giving full-on answers. They're giving maybes and halfways. And that's weird to me, because we still have at least till the end of this year. I don't think it's coming out in 24. If they're talking about a beta in June or July, and that's going to run for 6 months, and I think there was going to be at least one reset during that beta testing. If it comes out in 24, you're talking very end of 24. So there's not much they can say right now that's going to get me all hyped up and excited, because it's still so far away, and I feel like they're still going to change their mind. Or like there have been times where they've all of a sudden told us something completely brand new and out of the blue, but it also seemed related. You know, when we had the whole thing about trade, the whole TFT thing, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, we're going to probably have some sort of auction house or some sort of trading system. It's like, oh, wow, you guys really stepped back on that one. Like, but it's been forever since the beginning of PoE that has not been a thing. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but it is cool that he does that. They've been doing these different interviews because I know a lot of people do enjoy them. For me, it's just not. I don't want to hear maybes and ifs and we coulds and stuff. So
no, makes sense. Makes perfect sense. To clarify, though, a lot of people are saying auction house. From what
I don't
Jonathan,
mean
I get that,
house,
but a lot of other people have been throwing that term around, and that's only something that the interviewers have been using as a term. But Jonathan hasn't said or described auction house. Like, he's talking about the opportunity to instant buyout. But an auction house is about driving up the price too, right?
No,
it's not just instant
sorry,
buyout.
that's not totally well, no, most auction houses in games, I don't know why they call them auction houses, but they were instant buyouts where you were just
that's what it is. It's not about bidding up, and then you're never going to get the item you want because
it's
there's
the
always
ability to
someone
buy something right
you see
away.
it, you buy it, it's done. There's no user interaction,
which I'm not
waiting
against
for a spot. No, it's perfect
at all.
The console has it right now. It's amazing.
But I do. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I did notice that there was a note that there's no guild changes, and I was like, "Cool, guys."
Yeah, way to go. What? And then I start hearing and I love that he asked this. He's been asking this more and more and more and more. So it really seems like they are undecided on lots. But Wadijo is that? Sorry.
Yeah,
I clicked the wrong thing. I just want to make sure I'm saying it right.
You probably aren't, but you got the right spelling.
So Wadijo's like, hey, well, what about this? And Jonathan's like, you know what? I don't know. Like, what do you think about that? Like, what would you change? And I love that he asked that. That's such an amazing mentality to have as a millionaire who's making a game his way and then just asking nobodies like us what we would think in that. And I think it's a phenomenal attitude, but it's weird that you just can't think of that kind of stuff. Like, there's some things where I'm like, so for example, item filters, I'm giving them and you know where I'm at with item filters. Like, it's been my most hated sore spot with the company for forever. It's like that one thing that keeps me thinking like they're too rushed and lazy as opposed to well thought out, organized and caring. And so, but I keep going on the fact, like, sure, okay, so they say they don't need loot filters, or they're not going to have anything as like an in-game system like Last Epoch has.
Okay, yeah.
I get that. You don't actually have to have the in-game system per se, but there needs to be, in my opinion, an easy way to do very basic stuff. And I loved Wadijo's questions because Wadijo wasn't like, no, we don't need to change colors. We just need to do some very basic things. Now, he didn't give an example, unfortunately, because I think Jonathan might have needed that at that point. But it was like, I keep going, and I might have to post this on PoE2's Reddit. I hope it's not too busy now. I hear it's just loaded like a complete cluster now of people going, oh, you need to do this. Oh, you need to do this. And I mean, nothing wrong with suggestions, but I hope it's still clean and legit and worth Jonathan's time. But like, I keep going back to our buddy Chris with a K, who started playing the game. And very quickly, he's like, you know what, I'm going to go melee weapon and shields. And for whatever reason, he just kept seeing bows and quivers at the beginning of the game. And he's like, hey, Ty, how do I get rid of this? And the answer was, if you can't code, you can't. And that to me is ridiculous. So whether he has to go on a website and just quickly do a drop-down menu on the website, or whether it's a quick drop-down menu in the game, whatever it is, it's ridiculous that he can't just get rid of that. Now, Path of Exile 1 problems. GGG, and this makes me very queasy because this is how Path of Exile 1 started, and look at how they didn't follow through with maintaining their item weight situation. But Path of Exile 2 is hoping to start off by not needing a filter. You can edit it so that, you know, you get the colors and the drops and the sounds that you want, but the idea is that you're not going to need a custom loot filter for the sake of clutter, right? Okay, I get it. Hopes and dreams. Go for it. Maybe it'll happen. Who knows? I don't think it will, because how do you come up with that concept and also brag that you have 600 new items and base types? That math doesn't make sense to me. Unless you're going to see like one base type once every 500 maps. That's not very encouraging.
Then you're playing Ruthless.
Right. Which on a side note, I still think Ruthless drops too much. But so that's kind of like, that's where I'm a little hesitant there, but I'm still kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt. I know that a lot of people are saying like GGG said they're not going to touch filters. I think that if the filter system doesn't work out the way they want, or if they find that it's starting to get out of control, the leeway that they've had on other subjects like trade or like respecs and other things makes me think that they would be willing to spend some resources post-launch, a league or two into the game, because they're going to go crazy on this beta, right? They really want, like Jonathan was saying, he wants this beta to be in better condition and bigger than any other game that's released. Not like as a competition, like it has to be the biggest, but he's like, I want the beta to be massive and I want it to be in fantastic condition. Like he keeps saying AAA. He's like, I want AAA size with AAA quality. That's what he wants the beta to be. So, okay, great. Now you're down for user feedback. You're checking out your drop rates. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing boss levels, whatever it is. Awesome. Perfect. Tweak it like mad. So it gives me the impression that I would hope they would be willing to do something filter related if the drops just aren't working the way they want. It gives me hope that they're going to be willing to do it, despite the fact that they're not going the direction I want at the beginning. But I think
it's too big of a thing for them to decide at that point that it's something they should tackle. Like if it's been this big that they haven't done anything up until this point, for them to do it at that point is unlikely to happen. And I know that they rely a lot on Neversink and with Filterblade, and I think what Neversink's built with Filterblade is incredible. It's very, very good. To give a player the ability to do what you can do within Filterblade is awesome, but you're still reliant on a third-party person to continue running it. And I know that I was reading some stuff about, well, there's a contingency plan if he stops doing it or whatever. Just to hire him then, or like do something to make it your own so it can't just disappear, because he might have a contingency plan. But let's say him and whoever his contingency plan are just like, it's not for me, not feeling it.
What all you need to do is get bored of the game, let alone get hit by a bus or make a baby or find the man or woman of your dreams. Like 1,000 things can happen. And it's like, man, yeah. Anyway, it didn't happen. Nothing wrong happened with Path of Building. That ended up taking a thing, but it still is crazy that it's not dealt with in an appropriate way from the vanilla standpoint first.
I mean, if they fix loot, then maybe it's fine.
Perfect.
Like from my understanding is they think like that the way loot's going to drop will make the filter less important.
Awesome.
That's a big promise. Like we haven't seen anything, even, especially it's funny you come from a league like this one.
right. Where loot literally breaks the game and shuts it off. I think that's a crash. You're gonna crash. That's a fun comparison.
So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, yeah, I am, like I said, I'm excited for PoE 2. I can't wait to play it whenever we get to play it. But I just find I end up with more questions. Yeah. Now, here's a question from Theta. Theta asked me this week, but I thought it would be a good question to ask you. Now, I know, again, like Path of Exile 2, and I'm kind of apologizing to you because I know where you stand. You've emphasized it a lot, and I'm not trying to be repetitive. Yeah. But it is probably going to be... It's a big topic of conversation. Oh. I heard a mouse scratching, and it was just my dog. I don't know why mouse came. We have no issues here with that, but I heard some scratching in the background. It ended up being my dog, digging in her dog bed, getting that perfect bump in the right or wrong spot or away or whatever it is. And whatever it is that the dogs do, I don't have the heart to tell a dog to stop. Like they're just getting comfy. So if they're doing like 20 circles before they lie down, or they're digging in their one spot, like let it happen, let it go. Like I'm not the kind of person to tell them to lie down. Our dog does the same thing. I'm like, what are you doing? You haven't moved anything. Right. You've literally lied in the same spot. Lied. Uh-oh, my dad's going to kill me. Laid? Yes to both. Lied? Anyway, they've been laying down in the same spot for 2 hours, and then all of a sudden they get up and like, nope, something's not right. That's not right. That's right. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So, okay. Theta was asking this question. And I want to apologize because I know I don't apologize. There's lots of PoE 1 stuff. There's going to always be PoE 2 talk until it is. It's just everything about today's game is about tomorrow's game. We're just at that stage. And I am honestly super excited, unless they're going to have like a reward, an MTX reward for, hey, you played Path of Exile 1. I see Path of Exile 1 is installed on your system. Here's a free Weta. Like I'll keep it installed for that, after I install PoE 2 on both the console and PC. But once I see that there's no reward or I already got it, like Path of Exile 1 is never coming back on my computer. I'm probably the same. And honestly, if I don't like Path of Exile 2, then we're just going to turn into an ARPG and RTS podcast. Dragon's Dogma. Oh my goodness. It's perfect timing. Just like, think about it. Like Dragon's Dogma is going to come out. That's going to monopolize us until, well,
you for 2 weeks, me until the beta comes out, and then it'll be beta time. Like our PoE 1 time is basically from now until
whenever Dragon's Dogma comes out.
Who cares about 324? Dragon Dogma comes out before that. March 24th, I think. Yeah, it's in March. And
wait, Dragon's Dogma's that soon?
Yeah, it's super soon. You can pre-order it and everything.
Oh, cool.
Hang on. Dragons. We're never going to get to Theta's question. Dogma 2.
We got like 14 minutes till we start.
It starts in 14 minutes. March 22nd, 24. That's Friday. So,
dang, I'm going to be on the island.
That's fine. I'll let you know how it goes. Man, and you know what I'm really excited about? Like the first game is probably the best designed game I've ever played. It's not the most complicated, like it's all but it's just how everything intertwines. Everything from how the story intertwines to fast travel, how fast travel intertwines with progress, how that progress intertwines with New Game Plus, and how it actually literally impacts New Game Plus, but it has a lot of limitations. How respecking works, how your whole system, like it's just such. Everything about the game was perfectly designed. Like it was like every person that was a part of decision making was always in the same room at the same time, and they were always allowed to speak their mind. I was blown away by it, and I still am with all the other games that I played. So I'm super stoked for Dragon's Dogma 2, but it was so well done that I don't care that it was the worst story that I have ever played through in my life.
Didn't even know there was one.
It's so bad. It is so bad. And it is a direct continuation, this sequel. You still get the massive dragon with the itty bitty heart on his nail eating it up and arisen.
So good.
And then all like the really cheesy old English that was constantly repeated while you're running around from all the different pawns. Oh, whenceforth. Yep. Oh, whenceforth. Oh, I do say.
So good.
Yeah, anyway, I can't wait for it. So that'll be good. Dragons, thank you for listening to Forever Exiled, a Dragon's Dogma 2 podcast. So Theta's question is, in light of all the recent podcasts, how confident are you in Chris's old statement a couple of years ago that said PoE 2 will solve all of PoE 1's problems? Obviously, we don't know the final decisions of things, but hearing the mentality, what they've been willing to change, what they haven't been willing to change, let me pose the question to you first.
Well, I guess the first part of that argument would have to be you'd have to know or have very strong feelings towards what you think are PoE 1's problems. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't actually think Path of Exile has a ton of problems. I think it has things maybe I don't like, or that they're not my favorite part about it. But I actually don't think Path of Exile in general has a ton of problems. I don't think PoE 2 is going to fix all of the things that people don't like in PoE 1. I think that's an unrealistic and just another example of Chris where the team was like, shut up, Chris.
Well, somebody pushed him out, whether that was himself or someone else. He's not in the limelight anymore.
No,
it's Team Jonathan.
There's a reason for that. Maybe there's a reason for that. But
every time the camera's on, he's handcuffed to his office. He's no, you can't. Don't grab a mic. No.
They're running him from now on a 6-second delay. But
yeah, like the old sportscasters are on the football field, and they're like, there's that awkward 3-second delay of that weird smile. It's like, oh, thanks, Jonathan. Okay.
Yeah. I think PoE 2 will introduce its own set of problems or issues that people will have problems with. I think that's just a realistic of a game of this size and the type of game that it is. If I was to think about PoE 1 and what I think is a problem with PoE 1, I haven't heard much that has made me go, oh, cool, they're going to fix that. I think loot is going to be a big part of it, and I have never seen an example of them fixing loot yet, even though they've said in the past they were going to.
It's all words right now.
Yeah, we've never ever seen an example of them fixing loot. So, but I'm as much as I love them, I'm not just going to give them the benefit of the doubt of saying, oh, well, they said they'll fix loot and we won't need a loot filter. You're going to have to show us for me personally to actually believe that. I'm trying to think, like, if I think of Path of Exile 1, what's a big problem? For me personally, no, I don't agree with that. I don't like that I have to do the campaign every single time in PoE 1. I already know for sure that's not changing in PoE 2. And I respect the fact that that's their decision. That's the way that they've got the game going. For me personally, that is a big problem because it stops me from playing their game every single league. When I go, I want to try something new out, I quite often do not want to go through the process of what the acts are. And I get that that's different from some people, and that's super fair to those people that are fine with it. I don't like it. I want to progress faster once I've done it once so that I can get to the end game, because that's why you play Path of Exile. So I'm trying to think of things that we've seen regarding PoE 2 that fix an issue that exists with PoE 1. Like, I love that there's boss bars coming, right? I think that's awesome.
Permanent,
but
yes.
That's nuts. Yeah, great for a boss fight. Doesn't really help when you're in a map or you're fighting
right, unless they're going to do it
like,
for rares. It's not going to be too helpful.
There's no fix or anything on that end. And understanding why you die, we already know that's also that. To me, why you die is such a massive part of Path of Exile. We talked about this last week, so I'm not going to drag it out, but they're not fixing that. That's not coming in PoE 2. That's unfortunate, because it's another reason why people can quit the game. If you're constantly dying and you have no clue why, the game loses its fun pretty quick. So I think PoE 2 is going to make, it's not going to fix PoE 1. It's going to be its own thing. I think there's going to be some really awesome things with PoE 2 that I'm very excited. I think the game in general is just going to be new, and that's fun. But I hope it wasn't designed to fix PoE 1. I hope it's designed to be its own thing.
I think it completely was. I think the snowball just got too far ahead of them. They couldn't catch. Well, sure. Like, what the original idea of Path of Exile 2 was shit, we just can't do this.
We can't fix it. Yeah, I get that, which is fine. But I hope the goal now is to let it be its own entity and build off of maybe things that they wish they could have done or wanted to do different with PoE 1. But I do think PoE 2 is going to introduce its own set of things where we're like, boy, I'm not a fan of this, or I don't like that. I'm not looking for it to be the savior of PoE 1. I'm looking for it to be a fun new game to play. And I'm fine if it has some things that I still don't like. I know it already is going to. Like, just from the talk that we've heard, there is going to be stuff in PoE 2 that I don't like in PoE 1. And
c'est la vie.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
They do what they do. And to be, as much as we have some episodes where we're praising them, some episodes where we're frustrated, we still play the game. And I'm still going to play the game. Yeah. So unless they completely botch PoE 2, which it's not going to happen. I think PoE 2 is going to be phenomenal. I cannot wait to play it. But I think it's going to go through its growing pains in the beginning, where people are going to be heavily, heavily comparing it to what is different in PoE 1 and whether they like that or not, versus playing it as a new game and its own sort of thing. So what was your thoughts?
Exactly how that's exactly how they've marketed it, though. So that kind of falls on GGG. So let's see. Things that drive me nuts to answer the question directly, I think PoE 2 could solve all of Path of Exile 1's problems, but like you said, there's just going to be different problems that never could have existed in Path of Exile 2. Or in Path of Exile 1 that will exist in Path of Exile 2. But to answer some specific things that drive me nuts, loot is the biggest problem in the game. How much is actually hidden, their loot process, having loot that replaces other loot simply on a scale, so that there's just so much that just never ends up being valid. But those mods, like top tier mods, can roll on non-top tier base items. It just doesn't, like, the whole system doesn't make sense, let alone the quantity. They've acknowledged that. They're trying to fix it. Okay, given the benefit of the doubt there. Understanding what kills you, they're hoping to fix that. They've acknowledged visual clarity over and over and over. Yes, we would all want a death log per se. We would like something in text. They've talked about maybe being able to pause your screen and be able to highlight all of your debuffs. Okay, sure. Like have like a death screen, so you can see everything that's on the screen at the time. They're acknowledging it. Maybe the visual clarity will fix that issue, as long as there's a lot of consistency between colors and damage types and stuff. Okay. Understanding what's happening in the game is both a visual clarity problem with enemy density and different skills, but also, if you're going to have mods listed, I need to know what that means. Warlord's Grip means nothing to me. Crab Smash Fist, a bestiary, that's not a mod, but like a bestiary mod, like, I don't know what that means, right? Essence of Torment on an essence monster, like I that doesn't mean anything to me. I might become familiar with these things over time, but there's nothing in game that talks about this. So if they are going back to the bestiary, essence, and arch nemesis style of describing to me what happens, It's not going to get fixed. But Jonathan's also in this past podcast said the absolute basics of how this game works has to be in the game. We don't want you ever leaving the game to know the absolute basics of the game. To min-max the game, sure. Like, if you want to know how Ignite works, you stay in the game for that. If you want the ins and outs of Ignite and a list of igniting skills and all that kind of stuff,
with it, sure.
Get out of here. Like, go to the wiki. That's what the wiki's for. So, you know, depends on how the mods are described to the user, right? Underneath the health bar. And then the other thing that to me, so all of that has been in a way touched on in interviews, and there are things that they're considering. One thing that has not been considered or discussed, asked upon yet is enemy mod combinations. Like, for example, last night I was playing and I was doing a Harbinger and 2 rare monsters spawned with the Mana Siphoner. 2 of them. And they both teleported. And I'm like there was I could not find a safe place to be. You had 2 of these on the same screen, which already to me, that's a crazy problem, especially different games, but I'm just saying, like, there's just certain combinations of mods that just shouldn't exist, right? And you never, like they've talked about, they never want anything to be build breaking, but they want to be like build hindering, if you know what I mean. Not, of course, hindering in the Path of Exile sense. So that's really the only thing that they haven't touched on. Hopefully it's something that they're considering. I am giving Path of Exile the benefit of the doubt. That's for sure.
Yeah, I am too.
But like you said, the reason that I'm on the fence about it and I'm not excited about it is they have done nothing in Path of Exile 1 to fix those issues. And those issues, some of those issues have existed since the dawn of time, since the release. Like, Animate Guardian still doesn't tell a user that there's permanent deletion of items. Like, that's 10 years. So because there isn't that progress there, okay, so that's nice. You have all these things. This is how the game starts. How do I know that is like, are you just going to release and forget for some of these other issues as well? Like, it's going to get busy again, guys. Like, you know, so because they don't have a history of improving Path of Exile 1 with those core features, I'm just as hesitant as I am hopeful for PoE 2. So to answer Theta's question, I think it could, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, I think it's going to have an effect on some things for sure, but it's a big wait and see.
Yep.
But in the end, it, to be completely honest, unless they completely just botch it, we're going to play it.
Yeah.
And we may have some frustrations with some of it, and hopefully it's stuff that gets fixed up. But yeah, I'm not sure it's going to be the savior of PoE 1. I'm not actually sure that that's even necessary. There's just things that aren't great in Path of Exile currently that would be nice to see fixed, but the game is fun. This has been a great league. Like, Affliction was a really fun league to play. It's going to be very curious to see what 324 comes out with, but also now that I know that Dragon's Dogma comes out at the same time, I don't care. Right? Yeah. So anyway, it's going to be fun. We are going to have to wrap this up, though. This is going to be a shorter.
We have 1 minute.
228. Yeah, and I'm still going to process the audio before I actually hop on. So let's wrap this up. Forever Exile 228. I'm Justin, AK Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Patrons, we'll catch you in After Dark, where we got so much to talk about with the Private League, I'm sure. And everybody else, will see you next week in 229. If you want to play in the Private League, hop into our Discord. You'll find it under announcements. It runs for the next 10 days. And if you look for more information, you'll find down below. We'll get a website, foreverexiled.com. We're on Twitter, foreverexiled82. We have a very fun Discord. Pop in there and say hi. And patrons, other ways support the podcast. You find them down below, as well as on the website. Good luck in the Private League. Love ya.